Hello, House of Metamorphosis Tribe. Welcome back to this channel where we're transforming hairdressers from the inside out. And today's topic is a little delicate one, a little butterfly for you I felt to bring. And that is, how does spirituality show up in the salon? It's a very, complex story, spirituality in salon, but I feel like we've come to an awakened point where we're starting to become aware that the interactions, the interpersonal conversations, the resonance, the exchanges that go on between you and your clients potentially have more meaning and more depth to what just, in the past, maybe even 12 months ago, you were experiencing with your clients. There might be some deepening that's going on. There may be something curious that's showing up where even your clients are opening up to deeper emotional aspects. And I'm not talking about the clients that just share their life with you. I'm talking about speaking about deep things, like things that move them, things that they're becoming aware of about their personality and their characteristic. Potentially, if you've had a long-standing relationship with some of your clients, you might find a deepening occurring. And this deepening that's going on is an awakening. It's the awakening to the spiritual aspect of our humanness, and how science and spirituality really need to be brought into balance, because they are one and part of the whole. Spirit exists in everything that surrounds us, and the soul exists within the human being. And the connection between spirit and soul is absolutely necessary to make everything in the outer and the inner world function. And the reason why I'm bringing this to our conversation today is that, how do you notice spirit in your salon space? Spirit is elusive. It's invisible. But yet it's so deeply felt if you're connected to it. And some of the awarenesses that I wanted to bring you today for you to pay attention to: spirit exists in the music you play. Spirit exists in the oils or the incense that you burn. Spirit exists in the aromas that you actually have that are floating around your salon, in teas or in products or in oils that you may be using at the basin with your clients and hair treatments and whatnot. Spirit will show up in the atmosphere. This is spirit. So what also is spirit that shows up in the salon that's invisible is the energy in which each of your team members emanates into the space. That becomes a very strong projection into the atmosphere and environment which you are in, and becomes part of the spiritual experience that everybody is having in the salon container. That includes your clients and your team members. So, if you've got a client or a team member that's having a bad day, they're grumpy, their energy's really low, they potentially might be, toxic behavior or toxic language that may be expressed, either behind the scenes or on the floor, if it's a client and they're actually expressing their emotional body to you on the floor, and you're basically in a silent state, absorbing, to the empaths out there, absorbing this energy, hoping that it's going to diffuse and leave the space so that no one else gets affected by it. And empaths do this very organically. They don't even, a lot of the times empaths don't even know they're doing it. It's just their nature. It's their nature to buffer the environmental toxicity. So and that's something that you don't see, but yet it's something that you feel. And the reason why I wanted to bring this to the table and its importance in our business today is that if you've got that kind of invisible toxicity or invisible spiritual projections that are going on from the internal, the team, the client in the space, and it's not attended to and actually dealt with, what happens is this energy lingers. Now, again, it is invisible but yet felt, and the energy lingers and stays in the salon space and gets absorbed by everybody in the space on a constant basis. So what happens is it starts affecting your neurobiology, it starts affecting your nervous system, it starts affecting your mind, your body, your energy, your emotion. It starts affecting you in an invisible way, and you really can't put your finger on it. And this is where I believe that unforeseen or undealt with invisible spiritual or toxic energy in the space over a long period of time potentially leads to the need for substance to be actually taken in order to diffuse or to suppress what is going on, the feeling that's going on that can't be really put a finger upon. And I'm speaking about this today because this goes on every day, all the time. And unless you become aware of the communication, the stories, and also the energy that's being projected into your salon space, it's very necessary that cleansing is done, like energetic cleansing, like using sage or some sort of burn, something that burns energy away out of the space. Because let's look at the reflection here. And again, we learn this and evolve in a much more complex, deeper way, but I'm just speaking about it loosely here. Spirit is elusive, but spirit is actually in air. Spirit is in air. So if you burn something, what happens is that energy becomes stagnant in air. It becomes stagnant in the environmental air pocket that's in the salon, and it hovers in that space. So using something that is like sage or something that burns, that can actually go into the atmosphere, the air, and clean up, because like sage, as the example, is a cleansing medium and it cleanses toxic energy out of a space. So it's very important that potentially, the whole team, I feel like it's very important that the whole team is very aware of the language, the boundaries, and the consensual agreements that are going on between team members and clients. And so that kind of gossipy, negative, toxic energy is not expelled into the space. That's where I would first begin, is to actually place it in the culture to stop that kind of toxicity going on, which eliminates the amount of energetic clearing you'll need to do in the space. The second thing that I would do is the staff, actually all team members, are aware of their own boundaries around expression and receiving expression from clients, and to set boundaries around what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable. Also something that needs to be placed into the culture of and the value system of the salon dynamic. The third thing that I would do is that potentially you could have, one person who is the I suppose the space holder for the salon, and potentially might be the most spiritual person in the salon that really is into this whole information, this knowledge around spirituality, and is more naturally inclined to turn to spiritual practices. And they're usually the empaths, the natural therapists, the creatives are usually more sensitive to spiritual projections and spiritual toxic energy in the space than anybody else will be. So they could be the space holder for the salon, where if they sense that energy is actually being projected and it's in the space and they're feeling uncomfortable, that they have the absolute autonomy to go and light some sage, or to do a clearing, or to burn something, or to do a little prayer or a chant or something to actually clear the space throughout the day. And you could have somebody that actually holds that is part of their job role. We're talking about the holistic model here, and part of the holistic model is the awareness of the spiritual body in the salon, spirituality in the salon. What is spirituality without it being woohoo and hoo-hoo? Spirituality and the scientific, the mental, the energetic, sort of like knowing the biology of our humanness, those two need to go together to create a whole. We're not whole with one or the other. We need both sides to be whole. So spirituality is actually going on. Spirit is going on in the salon, whether you like it or not, because it's connected to everything. It is part of the all, so it is part of everything that you do, because it's in the prana, it's in the air of your space. So it's unavoidable. So my deepest inspiration here for you, and invitation, is how do you maintain the integrity of the spiritual climate in your salon? How do you maintain the integrity of each person's avoidance, not avoidance in an avoidant way, but avoiding having a toxic environment? How do you actually support that in your culture? What is it that you've got written in your cultural values that sort of say no to gossip, no to these are the boundaries around sharing, this is the limit about your clients and what they can and what they can't share? Let's remember here too, this is a whole other video, by the way. Let's remember too, unless you're a qualified therapist, you can't really ethically be holding that kind of space with your clients. And I know something just came out on Channel 7 the other day around how finally, I know Dr. Hannah, and I've actually spoken to her. We had a meeting a few years ago about her study in the hairdressing field and the need for therapy and communication skills to be brought in, because hairdressers are holding a lot more responsibility than they're given credit for. So this came out a few days ago, and I've been harping about this subject for 10 years now, which is why I created the Evolve curriculum, to support, especially knowing that this goes on. So unless you're a qualified therapist or you've moved through Evolve, which gives you evolved qualifications to be able to hold interpersonal conversations and communication with your clients in a very aware state, you aren't really qualified to hold that kind of exchange with another person. It's not ethical. It's not ethical. And as we know, most hairdressers do advise their clients because they feel pressured to advise their clients. So it's not an ethical service, it's not an ethical exchange to be going on between you and your clients when you don't have those qualifications and the understanding. The idea of what therapy is and holding space is very different to the qualifications of actually being a guide in this situation. And I'll share something with you. Qualified therapists do not advise their clients. We do not. It's actually unethical to advise our clients. So just to give you an idea, if you're qualified, you wouldn't be advising unqualified advisors, because there's a pressure on them to actually show up, and their client usually wants an opinion, what they think they should do. That happens all the time. And, like clients are always going, oh, what do you think I should wear? Or what do you think, or how do you think I should do my hair? Or what do you think I should say to this person? That happens all the time. And that's a lot of pressure to take on. But coming back to the spiritual, projections that go on from these kind of conversations, if they're not cleared in the space, then the spiritual climate, the essence, the energy of your space will become toxic. And I'm not talking about it becoming toxic just from chemicals that you might be using in the space. I'm talking about it becoming toxic of energy in the spiritual realm and the energetic space of your salon and your team, and you might find a decline. So having check-ins in the morning, at the end of the day, making sure that everybody's cleared any energy that's been projected on them is totally vital. Making sure that everybody actually holds their own in their own boundaries and what their consensual agreements to what they will and what they won't exchange in with their clients, absolutely vital. And making sure that there is a person that is aware of being the space holder in the salon to clear any toxic dumping or any toxic energy that's actually in the space by using some sort of smudge or clearing essence to make sure that the energy is moved and they're aware of it, because they are more sensitive than most. So they're just a few little things that you can actually contemplate on and reflect upon to upgrade your salon environment. And this is just as important as the colors and the cuts and the creativity that you're dishing out of your salon space. This is just as important. So it's like, how are you holding an integral spiritual space? And a lot of people are really interested in that part of themselves now. They're waking up to it. I'm noticing it more and more and more. People are really interested in the spiritual aspect of their body. They want to engage with more spiritual awareness. Like they're coming more spiritually aware. So I feel like it's a really important, potent topic to be talking about and bringing into your salon conversations with your team members. And also, like, if you want some guidance, if you found that this conversation inspired or instigated some alertness or acute sort of like, oh my God, I need to know more about this, please reach out to me and my team here at the House of Metamorphosis.au and book a free initiation call, and we can have a little chat about how we can best support you here at the House of Metamorphosis to expand and inspire your team, and more importantly, open up your doors into what it means to be a holistic salon for the future. It's not just a word. There are actual actions and knowledge and theories around this that supports the evolution of this occurring in your space. Otherwise, if this conversation inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel to help it grow. Share this content with people that you feel may get some benefit from it. And again, at the end of another conversation with you all, love jumping on here and sharing some inspiration and some conversations with you as they come up through my day, through my mentoring. I thank you for listening. I thank you for your precious time, and I look forward to having another conversation with you in the near future. See you soon.